Hey there, Detroit sports fanatics. I'm Taylor Phillips, and welcome to Taylor's Detroit Sports Show on Blog Talk Radio. It is Wednesday, May 13th, 2015 at 11 p.m. If anybody has any comments, questions, or opinions about Detroit sports, you can call in at 646-478-4837. That is 646-478-4837. And I am also simulcasting on Ustream.tv and Google Plus Hangouts on air. Ed Smith is my co-host. Ed, how you doing tonight?
Doing fine, Tyler. How about yourself?
Pretty good. Lots, a bundle to get to tonight. Let's just go ahead and kick things off with the Tigers. Kyle Lobstein got shelled again tonight, giving up a home run in the first inning to former Tiger Torrey Hunter, and then he gave up 5 runs in the third inning, 3 of them off a triple off the bat of Joe Mauer, a 3-run triple, and then an RBI triple by Trevor Plouffe, and then an RBI double by Kurt Suzuki. That completed the Minnesota scoring, as the Twins would lead 6-0 after 3. The Tigers' offense remained ice cold as they only recorded 2 runs, both of them in the 6th inning. Yep, the 6th inning, and they fell short by the score of 6-2. JD Martinez left the game with lower back tightness, and his day-to-day, he finished 2 for 2 on the night. Rajay Davis filled in for him and finished 0 for 2. Looking at the rest of the box score, Anthony Gose went 0 for 3. Ian Kinsler went 1 for 5. Miguel Cabrera went 1 for 3. Kinsler and Cabrera each scored a run. Cabrera walked twice. Victor Martinez went 0 for 4. Jonas Cespedes went 0 for 3 but got an RBI. Ed Castellanos went 2 for 4. James McCann went 0 for 4, now batting down just 250. And Jose Iglesias went 2 for 3, batting up to 360. That's still impressive, Jose Iglesias. Welcome back already. Kyle Lobstein pitched 2 and a third innings, gave up all 6 earned runs on 7 hits, 1 walk, and 1 strikeout. His ERA rises back up to 4.33. Alex Wilson did most of the dirty work, throwing 3 2/3 innings, only giving up 2 hits, 0 runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. Al Albuquerque gave up 2 hits. Didn't give up any runs, no walks, 1 strikeout. Blaine Hardy and Tom Gorzolany also pitched a scoreless inning each. Blaine Hardy was all zeros, no hits, no runs, no walks, no strikeouts, no nothing. Gorzolany gave up a hit, walked 1, and struck out 1. Hardy's ERA is 4.38, Albuquerque's 6.75, and Gorzolany 2.31. Tigers pitching has given Twins record a total of 12 hits. They commit only 1 error. 2-8-0 for the Tigers. Their offense, especially the 3 to 6 hitters, continue to struggle. But JD Martinez, until the lower back tightness injury, was starting to come on a little bit. Hit a home run last night. He still went 1 for 4, but then he finished 2 for 2 before he experienced his lower back tightness. So it probably won't last too long for JD Martinez, and I'm sure he'll continue his streak because he's starting to swing the bat and knock some balls.
lone bright spot, but then got overshadowed by a dark spot, but you can sort of cloudy spot, you can say, when JD eventually got hurt. Not a very good night. I was able to catch some of the game on extra innings through DirecTV. Shameless plug there. It's like the moment that Toriano hit that home run, it was already like, I guess, a moment of a sign of things to come. Even though Lobstein had a recovery inning, with 1, 2, 3, had a strikeout in there too. He just imploded in the third. He got runners on the corners with no outs. He was able to get one out there. Actually get a foul out. There was no success there. Have to track it down. And you figure, okay, he just needs a ground ball. Then he decided to pitch around Troy Hunter. Okay, I get that. So he hit that homer off you. Bases loaded, yeah, but you still needed a ground ball. But he gave the wrong pitch to a guy like Joe Mauer, and a guy like Joe Mauer is going to capitalize that. And that started the floodgates, as you can say. Basically, it was all over right there and there. But then for added measure, then Kloof hit his triple, and then Suzuki with his double. That was more than he needed, obviously, because they never scored a run, but they didn't need to because their pitching was able to keep, basically, for the most part, shut the Tigers down. Nolasco, coming into the game, he had an ERA of 9 or over. I mentioned to you last night, this could have been a scenario where, like in recent years, the Tigers, if you see a guy who either had an unrecognizable name or a high ERA that you think they can see off of, they just get shut down by. They just don't do anything. They can't get base runners off the guy, let alone runs.
They don't hit smart.
They were already in a deep hole. Thanks, unfortunately, in large part due to starting pitcher Lobstein putting him there, because at those first 3 innings, the game was pretty much over right then and there. So, but it's another continuing step because in recent games, the offense has had very, very low output. It's almost abysmal to watch at times. I don't know what the case is, because when you have guys like I mentioned before, Cabrera, Martinez, Cespedes, you should not be averaging 1 to 2, maybe 3 runs a game over a 6-7 game stretch or whatever the case may be. You have the firepower. It just now comes down to fundamentals. Get some guys home. Thank goodness you have other guys stepping up, like a JD Martinez and Anthony Goose and Ian Kinsler. Sucks that JD got hurt, but you know what I mean. They got to step it up. They got to keep it up, because if they're not careful, they could fall to 3rd place in the division. And granted, it's May, but soon it's going to cross into June. If a team that was considered as one of the contenders or front runners rather to win the division, being near or in 3rd place by the time June rolls around, that's not where you want to be, especially with this payroll. So they got to get their heads straight on that one. Yeah, they got to
protect the plate better by swinging at those strikes. The more they do that, the more times they're going to get a piece of it. They got to keep their eyes on the ball. The offense just has to get back to basics on the hitting.
And that was another thing, because Nolasco, like early on, it was able to pound the strikes out almost with ease and not get any consequence for it. I was looking, okay, yeah, he's schooling you with the break ball a little bit, but he's leaving you some good pitches in that zone. You can't line off a single here, try to rip a double there. It doesn't have all to be home runs all the time, but try to get something going here. But they just weren't able to do that. And as you can see, combine that with your starting pitcher having an absolutely awful outing, it was just not going to end well tonight for the Tigers.
Correct. A lesson learned there. Just dumb hitting proved costly again tonight for like the 5th night in a row. That they scored 1 run Sunday night, 2 Saturday night, 2 last night, 2 more tonight. Chances are they're not going to win many games with that pop gun type offense. And you have to. The starting pitching was more consistent and fire on all cylinders, I would say, no, you got a shot, but no, they
because, again, I'll have to go over it again. We know what the starting pitching was going to be coming into this season. Now to see it, I guess I would, in my view, underperforming even those expectations. It's even more disheartening when your offense isn't pulling in their lion's share to help take some pressure off of an underachieving starting rotation. We already know how awful your bullpen is, so couple that with your starting pitching not being quite effective, it's not mentally, but it's completely frustrating all around. Thank goodness you will hope to see Justin Verlander come back soon, but we're not even sure if he's going to be near or even at the JV that we used to see in 2011 and 2012. So until the World Series in 2012, but you get what I mean.
After tonight's game, the Tigers remain in second place in the division. Regardless, the Twins move back up to one game behind the Tigers for that spot. Seeing what the Royals did here tonight.
Well, you're looking at what the Royals did. We can segue, I guess you'd say, from talking about what happened to J.D. Martinez injury. Early reports, like you mentioned before, he'll be day-to-day. Also, in terms of injury.
Yep. Rangers.
I saw on MLB Network today.
Rangers beat the Royals 5-2. Rangers beat the Royals 5-2. So it's still a one-game margin between the Royals and Tigers for the top spot in the division.
But we should not be scoreboard watching. We got to focus on what we can do for ourselves. That's what the Tigers need to be doing. You know,
right.
But you only scoreboard watch when it's late in the season. You don't do that in May. You know what I mean? So again, it's up to the Tigers. Keep your heads out of your rear and into the game.
Yeah, Anibal Sanchez will take on Mike Pelfrey, who only has a 2.62 ERA and a 3-0 record, whereas Anibal Sanchez is continuing to get rocked. His last outing was another awful one. Took a heavy loss 6-2, give up all those 6 runs to the top spot Kansas City Royals at Comerica Park on a Saturday afternoon on Fox Sports 1. Gave up a home run to Alcides Escobar on the very first pitch that set the tone in that game. Anibal Sanchez has to get off to a much better start to make this a pitcher's duel, to say the least.
Yeah, especially when you look at the opposing pitcher's stats and what he brings to the table. That's why that was another reason I felt it was necessary to win this game tonight, because it may not be quite unlikely, but that'll be much more of an uphill battle coming in tomorrow night, because you have one pitcher who's shown consistency this year and another pitcher that hasn't. So to get ships locked tonight was very disheartening and very discouraging. You hope they find a way to rebound tomorrow against Minnesota, but not quite likely in my view. It's a bit unfortunate, because now you're in a position where you're about to fall, like I mentioned, about to fall to third place, because Minnesota's not that far behind you in the standings.
Just one game to be exact, in fact. Moving on to the Grand Rapids Griffins, they had a 2-0 series lead going into tonight in Rockford, and they got shelled 4-1. Timu Polkinen scored the only Grand Rapids Griffins goal on the power play in the second period with 11:33 left. Mark McNeil with a shorthanded goal on 25 seconds into the major penalty, a 5-minute Grand Rapids Griffins power play. And then Ryan Harmon put the Hogs up 2-0 with a power play goal with 1:24 left in the opening period. It was 2-1 after 2 periods, but Stephen Johns and Spencer Abbott with his empty netter put the game away. IceHogs win 4-1, make the series a 2-1 margin. With the Griffins still in the lead. Game 4 tomorrow afternoon. Timu Polkinen continues to produce offensively. He only got one goal, but he's still on a game scoring streak in terms of goals scored.
I think that's now what his 12th, I believe, 12th or 13th career playoff goal, and he's only just now completed his 8th career playoff game. And again, just continue shaking my head as to why he was not involved with the Red Wings at any point during late in the season or in the first round against Tampa, who, by the way, now will be in the Eastern Conference. I'm calling it Eastern Conference Finals against the Rangers, who just won Game 7 in overtime against Washington. So you have to think it could have been the Red Wings, because remember how we were close to having a 3-1 lead on Tampa, and then we gagged that away and eventually gagged the series. And at one point, we saw how Tampa was able to manhandle Montreal, so who knows? That could have been us going up against the Rangers, but hey, that's how it rolls. But unfortunately, we've seen that roll one too many times. So
should have been won in 5 games. Should have been won in 5 games. Saw Jeff Moss's tweets that Moss was comparing Teemu Pulkkinen's statistics to Tomas Tatar's statistics 2 years ago when the Red Wings blew a 3-1 series lead and lost to the Blackhawks, who moved on to the conference semifinals. It's kind of like deja vu in one occasion on an individual player that has produced more for the Griffins instead of for the Red Wings. Still could have the Red Wings still would have called up Tatar in 2013. This year they could have called up Pulkkinen, especially for Game 7, maybe in Game 6, maybe in Games 5 and 4.
I mean, it's not necessarily a guarantee that a young kid will be able to instantly perform on the bright lights and big stage of the pros as compared to the current minor league that he's in. But it would have been better than what your current crop of crap was. That, you know, like I said, if it wasn't for Peter Mrazek, you wouldn't have even been in a position to potentially win that series. So that's some bad content for not doing what he was supposed to do, in my view, and helping his team and bring up the right guy for the roster. So if he's halfway out the door, good riddance.
Yeah, another problem they had was the lack of defense. They weren't blocking shots, and they were turning the puck over in their own zone constantly. That's just Bush League hockey there. Worse than Little League hockey.
You're going out to dry. You're leaving him on an island when you do that. He's not always going to stop that shot and bail you out.
No, not your goaltender. You have to help. You have to help him out. It's got to be 5. It's got to be up to 5 men blocking the shot, trying to block the shot on purpose. Don't just stand the ground. Don't just stand your ground and hope it hits you, or hope that Mrazek makes the save. Chances are the goaltender's not, especially when you screen your own goaltender simply by standing in the way without even trying to block the shot. That's just what I'm trying to point out in terms of hockey fundamentals, especially on the defensive zone.
Unbelievable. Well, at least, congrats to Stevie Y for helping putting together a team that's now even one step closer to a Stanley Cup championship, which for the past yet another year, we can't say that in Detroit since 2008.
If anybody has any opinions, call in at 646-478-4837. I'm Taylor Phillips, along with Ed Smith on Taylor's Detroit Sports Show on Blog Talk Radio. Call again. That number is 646-478-4837. Name, city, and state. Keep your content clean and stay on the line until we get to you. Let's go on to some Chris Webber news here. Chris Webber made a quote.
Sorry, Tim. We got a full-blown people that play, but yeah, we're going to start first and foremost with C. Webb in the Fab 5.
Yeah, Chris Webber made a quote about the Fab 5 documentary. I read all the quotes, and that bottom quote on Michigan 247sports.com headline: Chris Webber critical of Fab Five documentary. He quoted, "When you have a clown, I made an agreement when I joined the Fab Five not to be above the group. It's just disheartening when you pay attention to those rules for 20 plus years and somebody wants to be Hollywood and make it about them," unquote. Webber doesn't mention him by name, but he and former teammate Jalen Rose have quarreled in recent years since Rose suggested that Webber should apologize for what happened at Michigan when the Wolverines were stripped of their Final Four appearances in 1992 and 1993 because Webber accepted thousands of dollars of payments from booster Ed Martin. Whoops, that is illegal. College athletes right now are not supposed to get paid. That is illegal. I wish college athletes. I wish it were legal for college athletes to get paid. I made an argument in a summer class at Northwestern Michigan College. I only had to transfer there just for the summer and then transfer back to CMU afterwards. And then Jalen Rose. Then Jalen Rose responded to Webber's comment by saying, quote, "One dude traveled, then called timeout. One dude lied to grand jury and hasn't apologized. One dude tried to circumvent the documentary to HBO. One dude ignored multiple requests from everyone involved after agreeing to participate. One dude played like President Obama and sat in a suite during Michigan's recent title game. One dude slandered Ed Martin after all he did for him and his family. One dude is not in contact with the other four, which is all good. One dude has been doing a rebuttal documentary for 4 years. One dude clearly is delusional and still in denial. Congrats on your amazing success. Respect had no price. Man up," unquote. Holy cow. Jalen. Oh, baby. Oh. That's saying something right there, Mr. Rose. Holy cats.
Right. No one's saying how Jalen was on that documentary. I had a feeling he'd respond like this, but man, talking about hot fire.
Yeah. Then Jimmy King responded on Detroit Sports 105.1's Ryan Enrico show. I'm going to try to play this here.
See if we can still run it from there.
Got 7 minutes left.
Right. If possible, we can just play that tomorrow and try to delve into that.
Yeah, I'll bookmark it.
Go back more to what Jalen Rose had said. I think you can make a case on both sides, so to speak, where Webber may feel that he was trying to paint it as some kind of painted in one sense where he felt he should have been when it comes to the documentary how he was portrayed. But facts are facts. Chris Webber did lie to a grand jury, saying that he never took money from Ed Martin when clearly he did. You have multiple people saying that. He eventually had to take a plea bargain on that to avoid jail time. And seeing how it was all presented and seeing how, at least from Jalen and Jimmy's side, how they describe it, things unfortunately are not quite that good with the rest of the Fab Five right now. It was interesting to see. Yes, well, Chris Webber did attend the 2013 National Championship game between Michigan and Louisville. He was the only one not seen with the rest of the five. I remember seeing one spot on TV. You saw Jalen there, Jimmy King, Ray Jackson, and Juwan Howard. The four of them standing together, posing, smiling, cheating with cameras. Watched the Wolverines battle the Cardinals for the national title, but no Chris Webber, even though he was at the game. But it was just interesting and a bit odd not to see all five of those guys together at one spot at one time. it's definitely it's unfortunate because as a Michigan fan and knowing back and looking back to the researching the history of the Fab Five, I think these five guys, they're basically as close to family, and especially in Jalen's own point of view as you can get. They've had the struggles, their ups, their downs. They finally got out of that stigma of talk a good game but couldn't back it up. I.e. winning a title when Sean Howard finally won a ring with the Miami Heat a couple years back. And of course, with the sanctions against Weber now at last expired, so that maybe there could be grounds of him being welcomed back into the university with open arms. But as you can see now with his current comments and the responses by Jimmy and of course Jalen, it seems unlikely now as it was then, which is sad in my view, because like it or not, this was a very integral part of the history of not only the University of Michigan, but just college athletics in general. So they should be recognized, I think, in some form or fashion. I'm not saying put the banners back up. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. But like maybe, just something, a halftime acknowledgement so that we're all five guys to be back together for one point at one space, one time or another. Because they've brought a lot of revenue and a lot of memories, good and or bad, but it helped project Michigan into the spotlight the way it did in the early 90s. So I think there should be a reconciliation between those guys. It's unfortunate to say, but that's what it is.
All right, less than 3 minutes to go. Why don't I give out the rest of the updates right now? Michigan Wolverines football cornerback Blake Countess will transfer for his final season of eligibility after graduating from the university. We found out that Dennis Norfleet, another wide receiver, was not dismissed from the football program. He was suspended for academic issues. And as assistant athletic director Jim Minnick was suspended indefinitely for his DUI charge. Their men's basketball team, speaking of which, will take on the North Carolina State Wolfpack in the upcoming season's Big Ten ACC Challenge. And and we already covered the Chris Webber stuff. Now the Lions worked out safety Glover Quin's option to clear $2.17 million in cap space. Signed second-round draft pick Ameer Abdullah to a 4-year, $4.16 million deal, and signed former Chiefs cornerback Chris Owens and former Jets wide receiver Greg Salas to one-year deals. Plus, Stephen Tulloch is getting better and ready to play in terms of his health. Look for him to start the postseason 100%. And finally, Michigan State, the Michigan State Spartans football team lands three-star defensive back Demetric Vance, while their men's basketball team is assigned to face the Louisville Cardinals in the Big Ten ACC Challenge. Less than a minute to go.
60 seconds.
And I just got an update that three-star offensive tackle Thayu Lakusa commits to the Spartans over Michigan, Ohio State, and others for next season for the 2016 season. That just came from Bleacher Report.
All right.
30-second.
Nice last minute hard-hitting live update, man.
Thank you, and thank you for being on this show. That's going to wrap it up.
Perfect. Good night, everybody. Take care and be safe.
Yep. Thanks. You too. I'm Taylor Phillips for Ed Smith. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll talk to you tomorrow night at 11. TTFN. Ta-ta for now.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
That was fabulous.